was like a storm tearing through the JSE on Wednesday. Shares in Steinhoff International plummeted after CEO Marcus Jooste resigned amid allegations of accounting irregularities. The share price fell 61% within hours. The fallout has continued. Today, the shares are worth less than $1.
It costs the JSE billions. We've already seen about 200 billion of market cap loss in Steinhoff, which is terrible because that sits in pension funds. A lot of asset managers had big stakes on behalf of clients. Of course, the management themselves.
Just under $1 billion has been wiped off pension funds. The Finance Ministry and the PIC, government's investment arm, have tried to reassure South Africans that the losses are being contained due to well-diversified portfolios. But investors want answers.
So where were the probing questions? Particularly in a business that was doing one acquisition after another. And that's where the danger is, because all those acquisitions had some complicated structure around them. And you need the board of directors, you rely on auditors, you rely on the executives to actually ask relevant questions for the protection of shareholders.
Steinhoff operates in 30 countries globally and employs 130,000 people, 43,000 people in Africa alone. The group recently unbundled its African operations and listed a separate company on the JSE. Ben Lachranje has resigned as CEO of Steinhoff Africa Retail, but remains the Chief Financial Officer of Steinhoff International. This was his response to the allegations when CGTN spoke to him at the listing in September.
From a Steinhoff perspective, the core corporate has made the announcements that you saw over the last 2 weeks. So we are in a process to address all the items and the accusations. But at this point in time, we can't say more than what we've released publicly.
This is the second corporate scandal to hit the JSE in just over a week. Media giant Naspers is also being investigated for corruption. Auditing firm KPMG is still being hammered for its involvement with the notorious Gupta family.
Generally, we punch above our weight. We have some incredible global businesses that have done great things throughout the world for a small little country at the bottom tip of Africa. So that should be something we should have been proud of for a while, but our reputation there has probably been tarnished a bit.
Steinhoff is now being forced to sell off assets for its survival. Sumitra, Nydoo, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And the assets in question are not exactly cheap. It's worth about €1 billion or so. That's $1.2 billion, give or take a few. Let's head over to Johannesburg now. Sumitra Nydoo has been covering this story. She joins us now live from that city with more data on the story. So, Sumitra, we've heard a lot about that phrase, accounting irregularities. But what exactly happened here? What are they?
Well, Rama, so, there's a number of investigations underway at the moment, so we're going to get more detail as they progress. But German authorities started investigating the company about 2 years ago when Steinhoff moved its primary listing to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And at that time, they said there were a few red flags and that they were pointing to Marcus Jooste and possible tax fraud. From the reports we're getting so far, it looks like the company was failing to declare all of its assets on the balance sheet and inflating profits. Other than that, we're still waiting for more detail on how bad and the extent of these accounting irregularities that they talk of.
Indeed. So now that Steinhoff has been downgraded by Moody's, this came over in the last 24 hours, how does that then change its funding cost? Can it still afford to service its debt?
Well, massively, because it's also apparently racked up huge debt. But the company did issue a statement today stating that it's received expressions of interest in certain non-core assets that would release a minimum of around €1 billion in liquidity. In addition, the company's subsidiary Steinhoff Africa Retail, which just listed on the JSE in September, said it would formally commit to the refinancing of its long-term liabilities due to the company. So this, all in all, could help strengthen the company's balance sheet for now, and it should provide some comfort to stakeholders of its ability to fund its existing operations and reduce debt. That seems to be a short-term measure for now. We're not too sure how long that's going to last.
Indeed. So these accounting irregularities, I know we've mentioned that we're not exactly sure what happened here, but did they happen across the entire group, or are they just limited to specific parts of the business?
Well, we don't know as yet because, all of this is unfolding as we speak. This investigation is not complete. We don't have all the details. I suppose we'll have to wait as reports come to that. But the investigations pertain to the entire group at this stage, Steinhoff International. And there are some specific executives that are being investigated. Steinhoff has grown into a massive group over the years. There's over 40 brands under that stable. So it's not clear at this stage which ones in particular are being affected.
Indeed, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for the update. Sumitra Nydoo, of course, and the team in South Africa will keep a very close eye on the developments in Steinhoff.